Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm Chris Love.
I'm Jane Mackey.
I'm freaking cold.
Chalk Talk is presented by U.S. Sailing with support from Zim Sailing.
If you're in college and want a U.S. Sailing membership, it's really cheap. Go to racing.ussailing.org/college.
Last week we previewed the ICSA Laser Performance Singlehanded Championships, and this week we get to interview the winners. Both sophomores. We've got Greg Martinez from Georgetown and Reineke from BC.
Really pleased to bring to the program Greg Martinez, fresh off his win at the ICSA Single-Hand Championships. How's it going, Greg?
Really great. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Looking at last year's Mesa single-hand qualifier, I think you placed 15th, and then this year, of course, you won it and then went on to win the championship. What's the biggest difference from this time last year to this time this year?
Right. Well, during the qualifier last year at Navy, I actually ended up dislocating my kneecap, so I wasn't able to finish the regatta, and I decided to take the next year to prepare for this year. I definitely wanted to come into the fall ready, healthy. Worked with the trainers at Georgetown, worked with with coaches from U.S. Sailing and my coach at Georgetown, Mike Callahan, just to make sure I was healthy and I wasn't going to get injured again. And that was my biggest focus going into the event.
And we've also noticed this year you've sailed a lot of lasers in college. You know, you had the Nevins and the Navy Fall, the qualifier, and now this. Do you get to do much dinghy sailing, and how's that going, integrating into the double-handed sailing?
Well, before college, I'd never stepped foot in a double-handed sailboat at all. Last fall was the first time ever sailing an FJ or a 420. I hardly could tell the difference between the two, frankly. And I am slowly learning. I finally got to pick it back up. I sailed the KP Dinghy Open 2 weekends ago, and that was my first full double-handed event, and ended up second there. So I was really pleased, and hopefully continue to improve in the future and sail more double-handed events.
So it seemed like one of your main competitors from the weekend was somebody with a different approach than you. Won a lot of the races. I'm talking about Kike from Charleston. Won a lot of the races, but had a couple DSQs. Were you involved in any of those DSQs?
No, I actually wasn't involved in any of the disqualifications. Kike was sailing aggressively, just made a few mistakes that probably were frankly easy fixes. But he was sailing really well. I mean, he was so fast. He was faster than the fleet by a good boat length or two upwind, and it really showed in his results. He was sailing extraordinarily well.
What advice do you have for young laser sailors coming into college that also would like to win a Laser National Championship while trying to learn a new boat or two new boats and try to be competitive at that at the same time, and how to kind of prioritize their fall?
Well, for any laser sailors coming up, I definitely just say to stick to sailing. Sailing a boat is sailing a boat. There's basics in laser sailing, just hiking hard, and I mean knowing how to make a boat go fast. It's going to be the same way in a 420 or an FJ. Just you have to figure out your own feel for the boat. And I'd say just stick to your fundamentals, because if you can sail a laser in high school, or if you've been doing sailing outside of college or outside of high school, it's the same things. It's just applied a little bit differently, and adjusting your own sailing strategy is really the best thing you can do.
All right, Greg. Well, thanks for that, and thanks for joining us. Congrats on the win.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Way to go, Greg. Good job.
Thanks.
Did you know Zim Sailing offers much more than 420s and FJs? They scoured the globe to find the perfect Opti trainer known as the Blue Dragon Pram. Manufactured in Holland and is by far the best value on the market. Fleet pricing starting at just $2,200. The self-bailing, unsinkable Blue Dragon features Opti rigging and blades and 7 different hull colors to choose from. For more information on all the features, check out zimsailing.com.
And now we're going to welcome Boston College's Reineke, who just came off her second straight win at the Women's Single-Handed Nationals. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you.
So, Erica, tell us a little bit about the event and how it compared to last year's event, which you won also.
Actually, it was complete opposite of last year's event. Last year, there was not that much wind, and this year it was blowing and cold, and last year it was in sunny California, so it was completely different.
I also noticed another difference from last year. Last time you won 15 races, and this time I think you only won 9. Why did you do that?
I made mistakes, I guess. I don't know.
You didn't want it bad enough?
No, I definitely wanted it, but I just made a few mistakes, I guess.
Oh, we did notice one of your scores was a DSQ. What was the story on that one?
That was an example of a mistake. I just made a mistake and got disqualified, but then the next day I kept my head clear and just went out and raced.
So if I were your coach at that regatta, I would have told you to start like 3 boat lengths behind everybody else and sail away from everybody else so you avoid things like that. Was that pretty much your strategy?
That was my strategy, to be conservative and not take big risks, but actually my regatta ended up being over, I think, 3 times, and I was actually pushing the limits a little bit that regatta with the line and everything, but I did that because, I mean, in the end, you're just trying to be a better sailor, so I'm not saying being over every time is like making you a better sailor, but yeah.
I need to take a second to get my dog to be quiet.
What were you thinking? What is he doing there? He's been barking the entire week.
I'm not going to make him move. He's got his spot here on the couch.
Oh, that's good.
Well, not to keep comparing to last year, but as a freshman, you were coming in with an awful lot of laser experience, and since then, you've been doing a lot more double-handeds. So, if Erika Reineke of 2012 were on the race course this weekend, who would have won?
The Erika Reineke of 2013, because in 2012 I was 6 or 7 pounds lighter than I am now, and this was definitely a strength competition, lots of physical activity, lots of exerting physical activity, and it was a lot more challenging.
What do you like better now that you've been in the double-handed for a year? Do you like getting back into the laser, or is the double-handed more exciting?
I love the laser in some conditions, like big waves, but the double-handed, just being with a crew, and most of the crews that I've had at VC, all of them, I take that back, all of them have been awesome and keeping my head straight and just great, and we've had a lot of fun, so that was a big difference from laser sailing, but I can't really say that I like one better than the other at this point in time.
You excited to do some team racing in the spring?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I literally can't wait.
Where are you going to sail this weekend?
I'm sailing at the women's ACCs this weekend.
Cool. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us, Erika. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks so much.
And for this week's Stud of the Week, we have Greg Martinez.
Hey guys, well as you can see I'm at the airport, but I've still got the 5th college rankings here for you, and we've got some lead changes this time around. Georgetown edges out Yale for the top co-ed spot by a mere 1 point. Old Dominion moves into the top 10 while Pennsylvania gets into the top 20 this week. For the women, again a lead change. Boston College with 7 points over Yale, and it looks like the 22 coaches who voted have some varying opinions here on who the top team is, with some first place votes going to 3rd place Dartmouth and 4th place Navy. MIT moves up to 8th place, and St. Mary's is back in the top 15 this week. Thanks again for having me on Chalk Talk this season, and you'll find the 6th and final national poll of the season released just before Thanksgiving, so stay tuned. Thanks again.
Last week for the Zim photo assignment, we asked to see pictures from your weekend off if you weren't sailing, so let's see how productive you guys were. And this week, your Zim photo assignment is to take funny pictures of your bundled up coaches. There was a guy by the name of Nick Ewenson who used to coach college sailing, and he set the bar pretty high for bundleage. We want to see funny pictures of your coaches. It's that time of year, so whip out the funny beanies and parkas and send them into Chalk Talk.
And now our feature. This weekend we've got the Atlantic Coast Dinghy Championship, ACCs.
And the ACCs has to be known as the most important fleet racing regatta of the fall. And it's kind of also, since it's known as the most important, it's really the first time that we not only get to see teams come to try to give it their best on any weekend, but on a weekend that really, really matters, much like the College National Championship matters.
We always try to take a look at the results and see how the different teams are stacking up against each other. But when we look to the different districts, we notice that Georgetown hasn't necessarily sailed against all of the top NISA guys or Charleston. So it's hard to stack them against each other. I know that Georgetown won the big event, the Navy Fall, but that's with 4 divisions, so it's quite different to what they're going to be doing this weekend. Also, when we look at NISA, we see that Yale has been, yes, very consistent. We've talked about them a lot, but there are a lot of other good teams there. BC has shown that they can win both divisions on a weekend. Dartmouth can do really great performances, and Tufts also has some really shining moments, but they're definitely a bit more up and down, and they definitely play with their different sailors and different combinations. So it's hard for us to know exactly what we're going to see this week, and I think it really comes down to what they can put together on the day.
So that being said, who is your favorite for ACCs this weekend?
Well, I think based on how the fall has gone, it's pretty difficult to say that anybody in college sailing is the favorite other than Jane's Yale nerds. But how about the College of Charleston? This is a team that we decided last week was very, very hot. And they're at home, and we've seen, looking back, over the last probably 20 years or more, when Charleston races at home, they do really, really well. It's a very difficult place to sail.
Yeah, we know that Zeke loves Charleston. We've seen that before, but I think that rule only holds true when College of Charleston is also winning at other events throughout the season. And I just don't think that they have it this week. I think Yale is hands down the favorite, but if we're going to see a challenge, it's going to come from one of those other teams that Jane mentioned. Somebody like a Dartmouth, I think, has a very good chance of being top 3, maybe taking away a win, or maybe some of those other NISA teams, Boston College, Connecticut, Tufts. They've seen moments throughout the season. I think Charleston's probably going to have the early advantage, but by the end of Sunday, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Yale that's going to figure it out.
Good to see you're taking the conservative choice for once. How refreshing.
Well, coinciding with the co-ed ACCs is the women's ACCs up at Cornell, of all places, for a mid-November regatta.
Yeah, I don't really even want to talk about this one. I'm freezing just thinking about it. I think Jane and I both had the pleasure of sailing a Laser Nationals there, where their brand new boathouse had just gotten finished, but we weren't allowed inside because they didn't have their permits yet. And so all I can think about there sailing at Cornell is frostbite. So hey, have fun, ladies.
Yeah, definitely pack your woolies. It is cold up there. My fondest memory is capsizing downwind in the Laser Nationals. Pretty good form with all the wind coming right off the land. Extremely shifty, so watch out for that as well.
I too have fond memories of that regatta, watching you guys freeze out there from the comfort of my warm powerboat. Well, anyway, looking at the rosters here, who are your favorites for women's ACCs?
So we got to start with Yale. They're ranked first. They won the Navy Women's Fall, the Stu Nelson, Mrs. Hurst, Yale Women's, and they were 4th at the end. That's a pretty good record if you ask me. They're still rotating skippers a bit. We've seen Marlena and Morgan mostly in A, also sailing some B, and then Erska also shows that she can do really well in B. I think aside from any of the other teams, these guys have really kind of locked in that group that they're playing at the front. When we look at BC and Dartmouth, we haven't necessarily seen their best teams, best players sailing in locked-in divisions for the women so far.
Yeah, I think we saw this last spring for nationals as well. The rock stars on the circuit are Deirdre Lambert and Erica Reineke. And of course, not to take anything away from Yale, but Yale has a much better record because they're out there every weekend with their same players. Dartmouth and BC have been mixing it up, but I think that bringing the right combination, peaking at the right time is what it's all about. And for this one, I think Dartmouth is my pick.
Let's also not forget about the midshipwomen from Navy. They've had a pretty productive fall as well. Not as consistent, certainly, as Yale, but Marissa Lehan's been sailing really well for them in B. And we all know Mary Hall can show up and take anybody down in A division. I don't think that they're really a favorite to win this event, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they knock off 2 or 3 of those teams that we just mentioned and finish in the top 2 at this one. I think Yale's going to win.
I think Yale's going to win also.
Okay, well, we'll be watching closely up at Cornell, down in Charleston, and we've also got a few other events going on this weekend, the ACTs as well. And we'll be back next week. That's it for Chalk Talk.
Good luck to everyone sailing this weekend.
Finally, she said it.
Yeah, I have fond memories of watching you guys do that with my video camera.
So creepy. I have fond memories of watching you guys with my video camera.
It's pretty creepy.
Oh my god.
Let me try that one more time.
No!